Welcome to What the Flick, everybody. The season finale of season 2 of Hannibal. And Alonzo, first of all, introduce everybody, but end big with our special
Well,
guest.
of course. As always, Ryan Turek, William Bibiani, Ben Mankiewicz, and joining us today, the executive producer, creator, showrunner, chief bottle washer of Hannibal, Bryan Fuller is here.
Actually, it turns out Bryan plays Hannibal and Will Grant.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's impressive.
What you
You
can't-
merge those faces together.
But you can't do with prosthetics. It's amazing. So, holy crap! What an amazing season, and what a cap off. I kind of feel like this. We were saying before that it's the. If you don't buy this magazine, we'll shoot the dog ending.
Yes.
You know, renew this show or everyone's dead.
Yes, they could very well have been. They were in the good news is that everybody's alive at the end.
Yes.
Ish.
And,
Well,
yeah.
you tweeted a picture that was your murder wall, and there was everyone at the end of that episode had a question
my
mark over
God,
their
yes.
face.
Yes.
And I'm just like, have you, without telling us, because obviously we don't want to ruin it, have you made the decisions yet, or is there still some question marks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
I've pretty much been aware of exactly who's going to survive and what they're going to be doing in the third season, which is a lot of fun.
And do your actors know that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes,
So
they
this
do.
is your
Yeah.
Moldavian massacre, then.
Yes, I tell the actors everything. If I know it, I tell them because I think it helps inform their performance. And I'm not one of those showrunners who keeps it in the magic box, and I'm not going to tell you until you read the script. Although that has happened. Eddie Izzard was like, "So I die in this episode," and I was like, "Shit." yes, you do. Sorry about that.
No, it was interesting because on that murder wall was also Dr. Chilton.
Yes.
So we have a plan for Chilton as well somewhere along season 3.
Raul Esparza is so infectiously fun in the show and knows exactly what his role is, which is comedic relief. And so I can't imagine not going forward without Dr. Chilton.
I think I know the answer to this, but are you duty bound to anything from the books?
No,
or nothing?
no.
So if you wanted to have Chilton dead now, doesn't matter. You could do it.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, but I don't want to because I love that character.
I got you, but there's some things that I mean, even the way that Will is stabbed is
Gutted.
right, gutted.
Stabbed, gutted.
Right, but he's going to have a scar in the same place that William Peterson had a scar. It seems to me like
William Peterson didn't get that scar, did he, in Manhunter?
I remember
seeing it.
Because the...
Ed Norton had it.
then Ed Norton had it. I
did.
thought,
Yeah.
But-
And he had it in the books.
Right, he had it in
Yeah.
the books. So like sometimes I think, oh, look at this. There's a little. I mean, there are obvious nods to the books here and there, but you creatively you can go in whatever direction you see fit.
Yes, and when he takes his shirt off, it makes a smiley face because you got nipples for the eyes and then the gutting for.
So do I.
Yeah.
If I could. Actually, mine's a frown. My chest makes a sad face.
The shit you get away with for network television is kind of astounding.
It astounds me.
Is it a constant negotiation, or like is there a guy from Standards and Practices just living on your sets, or how does this work?
There is a wonderful lady in Standards and Practices named Joanna Jameson, and she knows exactly what show we're producing and what we need to fulfill as ingredients of this genre, and she's always adamant about helping us get that. So she'll call and say, you can keep that shot in if you turn the blood temperature down, because the brighter the blood, the more people get freaked out. So if you make it a little darker, you can get away with
I
it.
wouldn't want anybody to get
And
freaked
that's-
out while
is that-
watching this
is
show.
Is that some sort of? Is there science behind that, or is that guessing?
It is all emotional reactions. For instance, the acupuncturist who is lobotomizing people, that was one of the shots that we had to trim by like 4 frames because the needle went under the eyelid and we could have it approaching, but there's something about messing with people's eyes that has this emotional reaction.
But stuffing their skull with bees is fine.
Or having a human come out of a horse, is completely okay.
Or face bacon.
Well, right. I mean, although that was lit, obviously, he kept that very dark, the
Yes,
face breaking. But still, he's feeding his face to dogs. So as an American, right? Don't you think it's weird that we can show you he can peel his face, Mason Verger can peel his face and feed it to dogs, but you can't say fuck or show a penis? Like somehow we're going to be like, doesn't that seem like we have made really peculiar choices in this country about what we need to protect kids from.
Absolutely, and that is not necessarily the responsibility of the network. They don't make the rules, they just have to follow them and find the guidelines and grease us up so we can squip through as efficiently as possible. But that is an American issue. You go to Europe and they are so much more upset about violence, which they should be, and sexuality is human.
Right.
And I think one of the things that's interesting about this country is that it was founded by religious conservatives. And I think that has been pervasive. So certain things about punishment and brimstone and hellfire are all part of the stone in which we have built this country.
There was a great deal of concern in movies that there be justice meted out to the bad guy. And so, in one sense, like, I love that at least, granted, we have a season 3 coming, and hopefully many more. This show, at the end, there was no justice. I mean, there couldn't have been, like, 5 people who you like, well, I like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the murder's like, he's
Choking on his jacket.
He's ordering champagne with Scully or Mulder, I never know.
And where did he get that coat that he jerks? He takes the coat off of the lady dying on the front stoop and puts on the coat and walks away.
Oh, so he's wearing Will's coat. Wasn't that Will's? Didn't Will put his coat on?
Well, yeah, he did.
He put
on
it
top
on a lot.
of, yeah.
But you don't see
He took
you
it
don't
off.
see Hannibal walking out
I'm
with a
convinced
coat.
that every
right.
coat on the show, every coat on the show is magical because it looks fabulous and it will just fit everyone. It's the sisterhood of the
pants,
traveling blood-soaked pants.
I don't recall the last time I saw a TV episode that actually had like an epilogue, like a post-credits thing. Like you would get in a cinema now. Yeah, it's been a long time.
It was a big conversation with the network because originally that sort of baptism by rain that Hannibal walks out to shed everything that had just happened to him, and he's the title character and we're in his point of view, was very important for that moment to land. And then we go in and we see the stag die, which is symbolic of Will's relationship with Hannibal, and that chapter is now closed. So we needed that to breathe. And the scene with Bedelia and the airplane was all shot in a 6-hour period with her episode 12 stuff, because Gillian Anderson finished Crisis at 4 a.m., got on a flight at 9 a.m. from Chicago to Toronto, landed at 10, was in the makeup chair by 11, was shooting by noon, was in the van at 6:30 to head back to the airport to go to Ireland. So she squeezed all of that stuff in. And it was remarkable that we got that much.
Yeah. It was also reminiscent of, and that could be a little hazy on the Hannibal novel itself, but that's how Hannibal ended, with Clarice and, no, I'm talking about the book. The book ended with Hannibal and Clarice on a plane en route someplace, correct?
Yes.
Was that like a nice little nod too? Because you guys rewrite your history and repurpose things.
Well, it is. We describe ourselves as Thomas Harris mashup DJs. So we're constantly putting on 45s from Silence of the Lambs that you might not know is the whole LP, and just mixing it in. And so there are a lot of semi-conscious and conscious nods in that way, but mostly it was originally intended to be Abigail Hobbs on the plane in the end, and it felt like because of the nature of the betrayal in the finale, where Hannibal is heartbroken, he gives Will a chance to come clean. Like he's doing everything a good friend would. Hannibal is. So we want sympathy for the devil in that situation.
I had a question regarding the finale. Hannibal clearly smells Freddie Lowndes on Will.
Right.
How does that change what happens next? I mean, what is being tipped off do in this situation? I mean, or does it? Or does it really matter?
Here's something more specific than that even. No, I want to know this too, because this is a related question. When Will calls in and says they know, what was his motivation for that? Did he even help, or did he make things worse?
Twofold. I think his motivation is two things. One is to save Jack Crawford's life, because he knows if he heads into this encounter with Hannibal Lecter, he will probably fare worse than Hannibal.
Because he's heading in without protection, the way which was the original plan.
Right. And then the other plan is that he genuinely wants Hannibal to get away. And I don't think the audience should be fully aware what that is, because Will is so confused. He's not necessarily a binary thinker. He's just completely clouded with so many options that I think in that moment he is trying to rescue Jack Crawford, but he's also trying to give his friend a heads up to get out of Dodge because things aren't going according to plan, any plan that he may have had.
And the Freddie Lowndes aspect, like was Hannibal already on to them at that point? Or?
No, that was news. That's why it's so heartbreaking when he kind of goes interior and when he gives Will Graham that opportunity. So when Bedelia is saying in the previous episode, you may think you got him, she's just speaking hypothetically from her experience with this man.
So, but the irony then is that he did have him. They had him. They had him fooled. He was fooled, and only his acute sense of smell, his super smell, disrupted that.
Yeah, and the tragedy of the friendship, because I think Hannibal, everything he says to Will in that last moment is like, I gave you this beautiful gift and you didn't want it. I let you see me, I let you know me. Nobody has had this thing and you just wiped your ass with it, so I'm going to wipe some other things away.
What does Freddie Lowndes smell like? Because it looks like she's dipped in chocolate. It looks delicious.
Red chocolate. I think there's a little chili in there with the fire. Yeah, she could be red velvet. Red velvet chili cake is what she smells like.
From a production standpoint, I mean, like, David's working on something that's so visual, like, this episode. We got that beautiful shot of Alana Bloom, slowly being dipped into like what looked like tar and stuff. Is that all second unit? I mean, how big is your production? Yeah,
we do a lot of second unit stuff. We have this fantastic commercial director named Chris Byrne, who used to be a former butcher. So, like when we're taking a sample of Hannibal's spit from the inside of his cheek, that's a cow cheek, and he knows what a cow cheek looks like because he's been disassembling these creatures for his entire adolescence. So we got the best second unit director that you could imagine, a former butcher.
I think we glossed over a little bit the degree of the oh fuck at the end. Like that was a great, I watch a lot of television, and I've watched so much television that I know even what really talented people are going to do. Not because I could do it myself, just because I'm ready for it. There's a rhythm to it, and I was like, God damn, he's on the oh fuck, like that.
Which oh fuck?
That she was there.
Abigail?
No. I didn't get an oh fuck for Abigail. I think because there was too much carnage for an oh fuck. Like it was too, and I was too nervous about what we're gonna. And also, like I get nervous about time. Like I don't think in 4 minutes I can know whether Jack lives. Like there isn't time for me to get this answer. This is frustrating. Jesus, she's there too. No, the plane, the literal, like that was just a. It was a really well delivered oh fuck. That was a really great moment.
We wanted to have more of Gillian Anderson because it's always a good thing. Yeah. And so that was something when I had pitched to Gillian, this is how we would love to end the series if you can make it work in your schedule. And for a long time it looked like it wasn't going to work. And so we're then, okay, do we shift back to having Abigail in the plane? But Gillian made it work with her schedule.
That would suggest that Gillian is around for season 3. Otherwise, it becomes a little less interesting.
Well, yeah, you'd have to kill her in the first episode. She gets off the plane.
The plane crashes, and that's it.
You could do a whole Moonraker opening.
How's an episode of Alive? The plane crashes, Hannibal eats everybody.
And he doesn't have to wait for them to get cold. Exactly. He's having a warm meal.
You've described season 3 a bit. It's going to be sort of a Frankenstein season where you're going to take elements of other books. It's not just going to be like one book.
Right.
For example, you're going to pick and choose. Is this going to be The Fugitive, and everyone's just going to be tracking him down from exotic locale to exotic locale? And then Hannibal's going to be like hitchhiking, like the Incredible Hulk, like trying to get away. Like,
is he going to turn up his collar like David Jansen?
Yeah, he's going to be he'll be the 3-piece suits are unfortunately a thing of the past. So we'll only see those in flashbacks.
Wow.
So,
resort wear Hannibal?
Yeah, he's going to be in Hawaiian patterns.
He's going coconuts.
Yeah, it's going to be Panama hats, like in the movie.
Well, you don't wear Panama hats in France.
Panama, France. It's a small town. No one knows about it, really.
But that's the idea, is that there is a fugitive angle, and I think what is interesting for us is that as Will Graham is trying to track down Hannibal Lecter, he has to go into his past to better understand who this person is, which gives us the opportunity to rewrite the origin story, which I was never a huge fan of.
I don't think Thomas Harris was.
No, he had a gun to his head. Dino De Laurentiis had a gun to his head and said, if you don't write it, somebody else that you hate will, and so you better get to it.
Well, I mean, but you've even been playing with it a little bit, like Hannibal's like badass martial arts background and the samurai stuff. Like, so it's not all out the window. You're gonna incorporate elements, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to see Lady Murasaki and explore that relationship, as well as starting to plant seeds for Francis Dollarhide and more of the Vergers. All of those
So we haven't
things.
seen the last of them. It's not like we're going to wait until after the Silence of the Lambs story arc if you get to it.
No, a lot of the stuff from the novel Hannibal that takes place after Silence of the Lambs will be incorporated into the third season. So now that we sort of moved up the fugitive story, which was after Silence of the Lambs, and wedged that in between Red Dragon.
So that doesn't sound like, I'm not an executive producer of a major network television show, but that doesn't sound like one season. Like you have a plan for what? How many more?
Up to 6, but originally it was a 7-season plan, and then we've kind of condensed seasons 3 and 4 because I feel like the fugitive storyline, to do 13 episodes of that, may strain not only credulity, but also the budget, because we can't hop from exotic location to exotic location. We can hop to exotic location and stay there for 5 episodes, and then...
Will every exotic location be in the snow?
I am hoping to get out of the snow.
Yay!
The snow a couple episodes ago, it's like, I no longer want to see winter. I want like summertime Hannibal.
Let me. I'm sorry, Ryan. Let me ask because you mentioned credulity, and the way I watch I don't have an interesting mind. I don't have an expansive mind. Right. I like the things that I know, and it took me, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes to realize, okay, wait a minute, this is not CSI. This isn't like it doesn't. We don't care. Like like you say, he just has the coat. Where in some of these reviews, I'd be like, well, why don't the cops just follow him, and then he'll go to one of these, go to the silo, and they'll be like, oh, he's there, let's arrest him, right? How does he get the suit on and off? And then once you embrace that, once I was able to like take a deep breath and let that go, then I find then it becomes much easier to watch. It becomes awesome, and so, but. So I'm curious then, how do you worry about, but there's obviously some level of credulity that you do.
What is our internal mechanism?
Like how do you figure out what's okay to have him just walk away from, and when do we have to worry about, obviously Interpol would be on him. How do you,
Well, 2 things have to be true at any given point for the story. One is that Hannibal is a man, and the other is that Hannibal is the devil. So both of those things have to be true for whatever situation. So there are, for example, Beverly Cats being found in the observatory in these slides. How did Hannibal do that? Well, he probably rented movers, had them put the slides in the back, like under tarp, then he untaped them, then he killed the movers and ate them, and drove their van into a gully. But we don't see that because it's shoe leather. And we actually had some stuff scripted at one point that we simply couldn't produce. The show is actually done on a very contained budget. We do a lot in post to gravy it up and give it an aesthetic, and that happens also in production, but a lot of stuff happens in post to kind of sew up the lag in our budget. And so that's that.
Yeah, that's true. But you do. But it's in your heads. You can't. There's never a moment that you're like, you have to have an explanation in your head, even if you saw it. People might say like, oh, come on, that's real. But if you don't see it,
we have an idea how he would do it. Like it never is the option that, well, he turned to smoke and he seeped under the door, and that's why he was there, and then he recombobulated. So we don't want to do that. And for me, the internal logic, and this has driven writers on the show batty, where they would be stamping around the writers' room saying, this show is bullshit, it doesn't make any sense. And it's like, well, actually, it makes emotional sense. That's the story that I want to track. I want to track emotion, and I want to track cinema. Logic, I think, is important, but it is secondary or tertiary. Like, if I can tenuously explain it, that's the validation for me, because it is a heightened reality and it is a psychological thriller. So because it is so much psychology and we are so internal to people's points of view, a dream logic kind of takes over.
Right.
And that, because I have no interest in telling a forensic thriller.
Yeah.
My mind doesn't work that way. I don't care about those details, and I find them very shoe leathery.
And we have those. We've got
There's-
plenty.
they're in
There are plenty.
abundance.
There are plenty, yeah.
You talk about the aesthetic of the show, and one thing that I always say when I'm trying to, talk people into watching it is that the show doesn't look like anything else on TV, and it doesn't sound like anything else on TV. And I'm wondering if either of those things represented a fight, or if it was you pretty much had carte blanche to sort of go in that direction. And because the other thing I always say is that this show is as art directed as Pushing Daisies, but in the complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
Like, it's all shades of taupe.
Right. And red.
Occasional splashes. Yes.
We were very fortunate because Jennifer Sulke, who is the head of entertainment at NBC, essentially said, if you let us take this show off the market for pitching, we will allow you, and you have my promise, you will be able to make the show that you want to make, that has the content that you want to provide the audience, that includes the ingredients of the genre that you feel are important. We will allow you to do that. So there has been a sense of carte blanche, but not just kind of willy-nilly, where we have these notes meetings, and they want to make sure that we are crossing all of our I's and dotting our T's to the extent that it can make sense to the audience, and clarity is important to them. But emotional clarity will carry through and past some of the logic clarity that we sort of go, yeah.
Well, you describe it as a psychological thriller, and I've very rarely seen a psychological thriller where the word psychological was in boldface and calligraphy and had flowers drawn around it. Because this is about psychology, this is about subjectivity as a whole, and I wonder, you're going off of the Thomas Harris books, but how much talk do you have? Like, I've talked about the show with my own therapist. It's just like, why don't you have creepy drapes? Like, how do you, what sort of research does it go in, or is that also just, we're all seeing this through Will and Hannibal's veil, and even that too is subjective? Because it seems very spot on in a lot of ways.
Well, I do a lot of research into psychology. I actually wanted to be a psychiatrist before I wanted to be a writer, and then I realized you had to go to medical school and all of that stuff, and I was like,
Let's go to medical school to be a
No,
writer.
thank you.
to be a psychiatrist.
Like, shit.
So the psychology of the show is actually pretty sound and pretty current. We take liberties as we need to for narrative purposes, but I am surrounded by psychology journals. Like, if you go to Toronto and see my office, it's like all laid out with psychology journals with, dog-eared pages and highlighted things. And I'm like, I'm constantly reading that stuff because I'm fascinated with human psychology. And I think it's very fluid, which is the psychology of Hannibal, the show, is actually very fluid as well, because we are fluid as human beings.
When he gets caught, Bryan, I'm going to cut you off again, I will let you, but when he gets caught, there are going to be all these people who are going to be like, I took a fucking calligraphy class with that guy.
Or like
Sauces.
a jiu-jitsu course or something.
Ryan, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I don't see too many interviews with Mads about this whole show. And I'm just really curious, has there been any time at any point on set where Mads has just gone, you guys are bonkers. This is just too much.
He, the things that he responds to, Mads is a very interesting guy, because he has this effusiveness and this charm to him, but he loves some kinky, depraved stuff. Like the horse episode was his favorite. He just thought it was a poem. It was beautiful. Like, it speaks to him in that way, that there is a certain segment of his personality that is reflective of Hannibal Lecter, and that he is non-judgmental with that stuff and sees it for the poetry that is intended, and doesn't get offended, but also can be aware enough of what's happening to give those faces of watching the guy come out of the horse that are so comedic. Yeah. And he is so finely nuanced. I remember on the first episode, David Slade was telling him, you can actually give him a smile. And he's like, I am smiling. It's like, well, the camera can't see it. Yeah, so a little bit bigger.
But he didn't, at the end, the final shot of the season, like, he's not smiling, but he's smiling. Like, I don't know, and his eyes are closed. Like, that
he's
is
also sighing.
That's impressive. There's a, like, I don't know, man, that's acting. That is good.
Yeah, he is one of the most facile creatures in front of the camera that I have ever experienced, because he is so versed in his instrument and can turn it like a quarter mark between the dials, and you will get the accuracy of the performance and that minutia of movement.
He's not a method guy. He's not staying in character the whole day. That
Oh no, he's so he's so funny and jovial, and he.
So if you're an Emmy voter, just take notice.
We should just have for your consideration at the bottom of the frame for this entire episode.
Can't they do that?
It'd be great.
It's right at our feet. You can be dancing
Brian,
on it.
Thank you. This was awesome. This was such a great thrill
Thank
for
you
us.
for having me,
and
thank you for supporting the show.
And
Congrats, come back.
see you in May of next year.
Yes, April.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy, discuss Hannibal amongst your friends, and rejoin it for season 3.